Matt is now going to join me. Matt O'Neill is a futurist who helps organisations make better decisions by understanding what's just around the corner. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
Hello, how are you? You all right?
Yeah, good. It's been really interesting, actually, just to see such diversity and to hear some of the really great conversations that are taking place in the event.
Excellent. Now, at 16:30 CET today, you're giving a keynote speech entitled The Roaring 2020s. Good title, like that. How to thrive in a future that's changing faster than you think. Now, without giving everything away or doing a speech twice, because there's no point in that, how can we thrive in a future that's changing faster than we think?
So I think there are three aspects. I'm going to do a really sort of light touch presentation. So there's three. One is, I think, very much around people, and I'm framing that as something I call the global legitimacy crisis. And what I'm trying to describe is that I think that trust and credibility is at an all-time low right now in our political and media institutions especially. And I think that that has an implication for association executives and how they work with their members going forward. Secondly, what I want to explore is how full-time employment, by the numbers around the world, is clearly in terminal decline. But in the ascendancy is the re-rise of precarious employment. I mean, if we go back before the Industrial Revolution in 1851, contingent labour, precarious employment was the norm. It's just, obviously, we've got quite used to having sort of full-time, stable jobs, but that's clearly going to change. So in the ascendancy is the so-called gig economy, and I think that that has a lot of implications, not just for how associations administer themselves, but also how they how they work with members as well. And then thirdly, I want to look at this idea of artificial intelligence. I am a futurist after all, not a computer scientist.
Because you did reference 1851 just then, so for a futurist that was quite a funny reference.
So AI, I want to look a little bit about what it is, and also a little bit about what it's not. Okay, so I think that we have to be careful that we're not just buying into this Silicon Valley hype mentality that AI is either going to wreck the world or it's going to make us live in this wonderful utopia. It's just not at the stage of being intelligent at the moment. And you know, really what we're talking about is sophisticated algorithms that, by the way, haven't changed that much since the late 1950s. Yes, running on faster computers. Yes, fed with lots of data, but certainly nothing approximating what I would call intelligent. Now, that situation could well change, but I don't think we need to be quite as threatened by it, because we hear a lot about how the robots are coming to take our jobs. Really? Have you ever had a job taken by a robot? What I think will happen is that jobs will change. Yeah, absolutely. And perhaps what we need to do as a society, and indeed as associations, is focus much more on the sorts of problems that society is going to have, because that will dictate the sorts of jobs, businesses and associations that emerge to satisfy those problems.
Yeah, well, that brings me to a point. On your website you talk about the co-created business and your involvement in the collaborative process. Now, how would you work with an association going forward? What are the guiding principles, the rules, the problem points?
I wish I had an out-of-the-box process answer for you. I think really it's just, it's just a conversation. Often I would be brought in, say, to speak at a conference or perhaps to run a workshop. I quite regularly work with boards. Usually that's just to sort of, I like to see it as, I don't predict the future, but what I do is I put up some signposts around so that I give people a hint of what it might be. And then it's up to my customers and indeed everyone watching this webcast to actually walk through that door and make the change themselves. It's not something that just happens to us, it's something that we create.
And what do you see as the future for associations, both in the long and short term? I mean, I know there's a wider picture that you've already established, and you can refer to that too, but let's start with the long term. What do you think about the long term for associations?
Oh my God. Jenna, it's a question I'd not even considered. I suppose the future of associations, from a technological standpoint, something that they might want to be considering over the next sort of maybe 10 to 20 years, is this completely new way of running organizations. So it's a classic topic amongst futurists at the moment to talk about this so-called distributed autonomous organization. And essentially what this is that it's an organization that is run by artificial intelligence. It is managed by artificial intelligence. And we see this in financial trading, in algorithmic trading, for example. This is something that's common. But what's interesting about the current structure of the DAO is that the shareholders are the people who are setting the strategic direction. Where I become slightly concerned about this sort of completely AI-run organization is that I think ultimately they will turn to gig economy platforms in order to hire human beings to do the jobs that the AI can't. And you know, I like to think of myself as an open-minded person, but right now I struggle a little bit with that. But I'm sure the younger generations coming through, if that prediction does become true, it'll just be the norm.
And what about the short term? I mean, there's lots of things on people's doorsteps, from Brexit to Trump to all sorts of different things, all sorts of issues around the world. And also regional issues as well. You know, I imagine an association in the middle of Africa will be very different to an association based in the UK. Maybe not, I don't know. But what do you think is the short-term future for those sorts of associations?
So I would like to make a minor technological prediction, if I may. So I think within the next sort of 2 to 7 years, we're not quite there yet. I think we're going to see a massive uptake in virtual reality technology, especially as a means of people collaborating. If you were to look towards Facebook Spaces, for example, Facebook are betting big on this technology. The thing that's holding it back at the moment, I think, is the cost of hardware. You know, to have a high-end experience, you need like a serious gaming PC and a serious headset. That's changing, and I think that potentially is a real game changer in terms of how it changes the way that we meet. By the way, I think that meetings are and have always been critical, but the nature of the meetings, I think they need to be less about information transfer from an expert to a group of people, and much more about what we had in F3 earlier, where it was round tables and people learning from each other. And so I'd like to hope that in terms of face-to-face meetings, then associations can get a lot smarter about it.
Brilliant, thank you. And Matt's talk, looking to the future, is at 16:30 CET this afternoon, so make sure you tune into the live stream for that. But for now, thank you, Matt. Thank you very much for watching.